Welcome to Let's Go 1 Out and About Recertification. This video is designed to be a refresher course for those that have been Scout leaders for several years and need to be updated on the forms and policy changes of Girl Scouts of Central Texas. My name is Patricia and I'll be taking you through this online class. The course is only 15 minutes long. There is no handbook, but you're welcome to download the new LG1 Out and About handbook to use with the course to help with notes. At the end of the module, completion of a brief knowledge check gives you recertification credit and serves as acknowledgement that you understand the updated policies required to limit risk and ensure the safety of all participants. So let's get started. This course is designed to update any leader that took OCC, the first part of CCC, Boot, or other prior iterations, to the most current policy changes and forms. These previous classes also covered taking girls out and about on field trips, basic day hikes, simple overnights, and other troop events that are not longer than 3 days and 2 nights. Just as a reminder, this class does not offer any updates on cooking over open flames by either you or the girls themselves. We will not cover fire safety. If you need that portion of the training, it's called Let's Go 2 Food, Fire, and Fun, and it is a skill-based class offered in person. If you've taken fire building and camping skills in previous training, you do not need to be recertified in those. But if you feel like you would like to refresh your skills, you may attend an in-person class again. Most of you will have girls that are juniors or older, or you are a leader of another troop of younger scouts. By now, we hope you've seen how to take your girls through a progression of skills, building upon what they know and giving them safe nudges to expand their worlds. You've seen that as girls gain confidence in what they know, you can help them experience new things, and that even through failures, if they are safe and handled well, the girls can still learn from their challenges, and hopefully they will seek new ways to solve problems the next time they arise. As a leader, GSUSA hopes that you have seen that by letting the girls lead the troop, make important decisions about troop activities, badges, and finances, as well as learning by doing and learning together, that they will learn to have confidence in the world around them and make meaningful differences in the world and themselves. I'm sure you've noticed that having extra adults helps the girls focus on the tasks they wish to accomplish. It is important to always check the required number of non-related adults needed to properly supervise the scouts. These extra adults that can help are referred to as safety-wise adults. As a reminder, to qualify as a safety-wise adult, an adult must have registered with the Girl Scouts and agree to act as a guide and mentor to help supervise. They are not just another adult in the room. These safety-wise adults, as their name suggests, are there for the safety of the girls. Adults need to have a current criminal background check, or CBC, before they are considered safety-wise adults. CBCs are completed every 3 years to be current. First aid is not a requirement, though it is good practice to have more than one adult with first aid certification in your troop. For adults that are attending an event but have not had the Let's Go training, the Chaperone course was created. This course is not required training by GSCTX. Some service units might require it, and troop leaders may require it for their trips. It is designed to teach additional adults what type of support leaders need and the expected behavior while around Girl Scouts. The table for the number of safety-wise adults can be located on gsctx.org under Volunteer, Volunteer Resources, then Safety Checkpoints. The URL is www.gsctx.org/SAC. It is important to remember how the table works, so I will go over it again for you. As you can see, it's broken into 2 columns. The first is troop or group meetings. These would be held at your normal meeting place. The second is for events, travel, and camping. This is when you are out and about. The first column, the troop or group meeting space, is the number of adults required to keep your girls safe at their meeting. You should always start with 2 unrelated adults, at least if one must be female, for any number of girls. This even includes just 1 girl that is not your own daughter. Having 2 deep leadership is important for the girls' personal safety as well as for the safety of your adults. The age of your girls determines the number of adults that you need. As girls age, they don't need quite so much supervision. The second column recognizes that when girls are out and about, they need extra eyes on them. Let's consider a troop of 15 daisies as an example. In a meeting at a normal meeting place, the troop is required to have 3 safety-wise adults. That is 2 adults for the first 12, then 1 additional adult because there are 3 more. However, that same troop of 15 daisies, when they want to take a nature hike, would require 5 safety-wise adults. That is 2 for the first 6 girls, a third adult for girls through 10, a fourth adult through 14, and then 1 more because there are 15. For troops with multiple age groups, you will count all girls as their youngest level. So, for example, a group of 5 daisies, 5 brownies, and 13 juniors would count as 23 daisies. Hand in hand with the number of safety-wise adults are safety activity checkpoints. These are safety standards that GSUSA and GSCTX require to have safe activities with girls. I'm sure you've seen them change over the years. GSUSA recognizes that safety always needs to be reevaluated. The safety activity checkpoints are designed to be modified. This is why we no longer publish them in a hard copy document. Standards are sent down from National, and Girl Scouts of Central Texas has made some additional requirements where we see fit. Councils can tighten rules and make additional requirements to these checkpoints. And you might have noticed, your individual service units can also add additional requirements. In fact, the troop leader might even find it necessary to tighten these requirements. But neither councils, service units, nor leaders can loosen the requirements passed down from National. That is why it is important that whenever your girls decide to go out and about, you double check the document, even if it's something your girls have done before. The document is updated quarterly, and it could be that changes have been made. You can find the document on the URL listed here, or under Volunteers, Volunteer Resources, then Safety Activity Checkpoints. As a reminder, you need to make sure that when transporting girls, that every driver is an approved volunteer. That means each adult is registered with the Girl Scouts and has a current CBC on file. Also, a driver must be at least 21 years old with a good driving record and with a valid license. The vehicles themselves must be registered and insured, and everyone must have a seatbelt. And if the girls are younger than 12 years old, you should have them in the back seats if possible. Don't forget that younger children need booster seats, and you must have room for those. Over the years, there have been some changes in the following rules, so make sure you understand this, just in case it's different than when you took your previous training. If your troop is traveling in only one vehicle, there needs to be at least 2 unrelated, approved adult volunteers present. But if your troop is traveling in more than one vehicle, the entire group must have at least 2 unrelated, approved adult volunteers. This means that you might only have 1 volunteer in a car. If this is the case, a vehicle with a single volunteer cannot drive a solo child that is not his or her own child. While traveling, it is important to keep each travel form that belongs to a particular girl in the same car the girl is actually within. Making troop travel folders will help keep the paperwork organized and will help ensure that everything gets to your first aid certified leader when at an event. When seconds count, having all the appropriate paperwork completed and within reach helps get that information to any required first responders. If an accident does occur, GSCTX needs to be notified as soon as possible. If it hasn't happened already, your girls are going to want to go someplace where they spend the night. What's important to remember is the rule of 2 adults or 0 adults. If you believe your girls need supervision, then there must be 2 female adults present in the sleeping areas. This includes in tents, at hotels, or inside cabins. If a male adult is with the troop, he must have his own sleeping and changing area. The only exception to this is for family camping, and in this case, a girl may stay with members of her own family. Traveling to hotels presents itself with additional challenges if you've not encountered them yet. The rule for sleeping arrangements still applies, 2 adults per room or no adults per room, which means you either need to take plenty of adults, 2 per room, or you need to trust your girls with acting in an appropriate manner and getting themselves to sleep. Remind the girls that they are Girl Scouts and should treat the hotel and other guests with respect. Make sure you know all the rooms that everyone is within and that you have a copy of the key to those rooms. Keep in mind, sometimes there are fire drills at hotels. It could be that these never occur when you're at a hotel, but you should still make sure that the girls know where to find the evacuation plan. Establishing a meeting spot away from the entrance of the hotel will help keep your troop together when there are many people trying to get outside. While unlikely, emergencies can occur while at a camp or a park. Outdoor emergencies can come in a variety of forms, from wildfires to flash floods to accidents. It's good practice to conduct a drill at the site. Teaching your scouts to recognize the sound of one of the car horns in this pattern, 3 blasts, a 3-second pause, and then 3 more blasts, is a sign for them to stop what they're doing and quickly return to camp. Remember, the Girl Scout motto is "Be prepared." Letting the girls practice emergency procedures in the safety of their regular meeting time gives them tools that they can use in case of real emergencies. We have reached the section that covers forms and documents. The URL is listed on the bottom of this slide. To find this page from anywhere on the website, you click on Forms up at the top at the home page. This link will bring up a page of current forms and documents. You can browse among the frequently accessed forms, but there is also a search bar where you could put in the name of the form and look for it. Council sometimes has older forms still in their file system, so you'll want to double check the dates on the bottom of the forms for the most current version. As you fill out the following forms, it is important to remember that the emergency contact number should be someone who is not at the event. When you give counsel your emergency contact number, it should be someone easily reachable. This person should have all of the traveler's contact information so that he or she can contact the adult in charge, either by cell phone or at the location where they are staying. It is also important to know that parents are allowed to grant permission through the use of electronic signatures. If a form can be signed electronically, it will state it in the lower left-hand corner.
One of the most important forms is the Troop Travel Application, sometimes called TTA. This form is for communication between the troop and council when a troop wants to travel. This form is found online. You start at GSCTX's website, gsctx.org, and you make your way up to the Forms link. This link will take you to all the important forms you need as a leader. For this purpose, we will scroll down and click where it says Troop Travel Application TTA. This brings up the following page. On this page, it is important to note that it says right there in pink to please submit the TTA at least 2 weeks prior to the start of the trip. This gives you and council plenty of time to clear all contact information. Below that reminder are 3 links. There is a PDF with some general information to help you fill out the form ahead of time. Then there is an Excel template of a roster for you to use. Finally, there is a tag-along release of liability form. You can open that link if you have any children that are going with you on the event that are not going to participate in any activities. This form can be printed and handed to the parents of the tag-along. It states that they acknowledge that insurance isn't available and they are responsible for the care of the tag-along attending. The next few questions have to do with making sure that you need to fill out this form. Are you traveling outside of the state of Texas? If that is true, you need to make sure you also take the Let's Go the Extra Mile training. Is this trip more than 100 miles from the troop meeting place? Does this trip have an overnight stay? Are there high-risk activities involved? If you click yes to this box, there will be some additional questions about where you're going to be staying and who has the certifications for high-risk activities. For example, who will be your lifeguard if your girls are going to go swimming? During the course of the TTA application, you'll be asked to provide additional information, and you can get all of those forms and documents ready before submitting the form. It will go much faster. Once you continue on, there will be more information you need to provide about your troop. Fill it out as appropriate. This is followed by you providing information about where your troop will be going. Times and dates follow this, and those are important just in case council needs to get in touch with the troop. Other information about where your troop will be staying can be filled in next. Give as much information about where you will be as possible. The next page includes information about who is attending. There is a difference between non-registered child and a tag-along. A non-registered child that is in attendance expects to participate in the activities as the girls are participating. For these children, non-member insurance must be purchased. It is relatively inexpensive and can be obtained by clicking on the insurance request form in the Forms section. Tag-alongs are children that are in attendance that cannot participate in the activities. Information about the adults in attendance is next. Remember to follow the safety-wise adult ratios, and any adults that are not registered cannot count as safety-wise adults. When you get to the bottom of this page, you will click to add your roster of everyone attending the trip. You can use a template from the first page or your own document as long as it isn't a Google Sheet. Those cannot be accepted. Be sure to double check all of your adult CBC statuses. You can do that in your troop dashboard. A common reason for your TTA to not be accepted is expired criminal background checks. If you discover you need an additional form at any point in the TTA process, you can click on the Save and Resume Later button. You will get a pop-up asking you to enter a password. Don't put in an important password, just something simple you can remember. You'll receive a link that you can retain for use later. The next page has contact information required. Of course, you need to provide information about your first 2 adults in attendance, and then you need to provide information about your emergency contact. Remember, the emergency contact is a person not on the trip. Training certifications are required on the next page. CPR and first aid trainings will be first, as every trip needs a person with those. Then the additional certifications are required. Scan in all the required cards on one file, as they should be uploaded at the same time. Finally, you have a space to share additional information and make sure to make final checks that the Council requires. Read all of the following statements so you can agree to them. It is up to you, the troop leader, to verify all of your driver's licenses and vehicle inspections, and that you have all the proper insurance forms. Type your full name as a signature. Once you click on the Submit form on the bottom, the form is sent off to Council for approval. You will receive an email in a few minutes stating that the form was submitted. Then, usually within a few days, you will get a second email from Council. It will either be an approval letter wishing you a safe and happy trip, or it will ask for any further information that you might not have filled out properly.
When you turn in your TTA, you will need to include a travel roster. This should be a list of people actually going on the event. Don't just print off your troop roster and turn that in. If there is an emergency, Council will need to know the names of the people actually there. Giving them additional names not only slows down the approval process, but it can become a problem if an emergency occurs. If for some reason you reach the day of the event and someone listed on the roster can't attend, perhaps they are suddenly sick, you should notify your emergency contact person of the change. The TTA and the TT participation roster are the 2 forms that you will need to turn into your service unit director when your girls decide that they want to go someplace further than 100 miles or are out overnight, which includes past midnight or includes some high-risk activities. Those 2 forms are the only ones Council needs when you travel, but there are other forms you will need for the year. The girl or adult health history form will need to have been filled out for every girl and every registered adult in the troop. You should have this filled out at the beginning of each year. Because the information is sensitive, it is acceptable to seal them in separate envelopes with the girl's or adult's name and staple a picture of the girl or adult on the outside. While traveling, having them in separate envelopes helps the records stay with the girls to keep them within easy reach should there be an accident. Do not turn these forms into Council. They are for your use in case of an emergency. At the end of the year, they should be returned to the adults who filled them out or shredded. The next 2 forms are permission forms. The first forms, titled Permission for Meetings, Media, Day Trips, and Treatment, should be filled out at the beginning of the year. This grants permission for simple day trips, having pictures taken, and consent for medical treatment. Make sure the parents read over the form before signing. The second form is titled Permission for Overnights or Extended Trips. This form should be filled out 2 weeks prior to a lengthier trip. It gives details to the guardians so they understand just how long the scout will be gone, and it has some additional information that is specific to each trip. These forms do not need to be turned into Council, but should be kept by the adult in charge that is attending the event. There are several forms for travel that is more than 2 nights, out of state or international. The use of these forms won't be needed until your girls are ready to do more than a weekend in Central Texas. But we want you to have them so you know where your girls eventually will be going. It is important to read over the information at the top of these forms and keep in mind that when they want to travel out of state or out of the country, that some of these forms are required to be turned in over 10 weeks in advance. The intent to travel forms need to be turned in a year in advance. The Let's Go the Extra Mile course is another online course that will go over and review each one of these forms and should be completed at least 18 months prior to your girls' travel. Now you can continue on to the knowledge check, which will give you recertification credit. A link should be located near the video. Thank you very much for taking this course. It is my hope that you touch the hearts and lives of as many girls as possible within Central Texas, and that you open their world to the possibilities of what they can do.